Okay, so we have created the instance, we install MySQL, we installed AWS CLI also. Now let's go back to the console and dig a little deeper into the console itself. Okay, so this is the EC2 console and this is the EC2 that we had launched. I'll close this one so that we get some more real estate. And these are the options that we have. We have details, status and alarms, monitoring, security, networking, storage, etc. So first let's go into the details. This is the instance ID. This is the public IP address and private IP address. Now why do we have two different IP addresses? The questions about IP address would get clear when we talk about VPC. Then we have instance state, and there's this elastic IP address also because I have been using elastic IP address. This is the instance type t2.micro and few other things which we do not need. Now we have monitoring also. So this is the CloudWatch monitoring which is provided by AWS, and in the monitoring you can see these are the various monitorings that we have, like CPU utilization, network coming in, network going out, CPU credit usage. Now this is there only because we are using T2 instance type. You can monitor it for the last 3 hours or 12 hours or so on and so forth. Then we have security, which will get covered in VPC, because we see here that we have security groups. IAM role, will cover IAM role in the IAM section or appendix. We have security group here. Security group would also be covered in the VPC section. Then we have networking, and then we have storage. So in storage, if you see, we have two devices or two volumes. The first one is the root volume and the other one is the data volume. The size is 10 GB and 50 GB. Both of them are attached and none of them are encrypted. And there's something called delete on termination. So what would happen is the default behavior is that those data volumes will not be deleted. So that's what it says, delete on termination. One is yes, which is the root volume, and the other one is no. So if we terminate the instance or if we delete the instance, the root volume would also be deleted, but the data volume will not be. Then you have volume monitoring here also, basically the average latency, read latency, write latency, read throughput, write throughput, read operations, write operations, etc. Okay, now let's go to the instance again, and we have various other options also. Like we have instance state, we can stop the instance. So if you stop the instance, there won't be any price accumulated for the EC2 instance. So if you see, this EC2 instance is in stop state. So AWS is not charging me for this EC2 instance. But of course, it is charging me for the storage that is associated with this EC2 instance. This one is in running state. Then you can, if the instance is stopped like this one, we can start the instance also. So after stopping, if you start the instance, it will come into running state again. Then you can reboot an instance, you can hibernate an instance, and then you can terminate an instance, which is basically deleting an instance, and the entire instance would be gone. Then there are various other actions like connect, which you can get from this option also. There are some instance settings like termination protection, auto scaling group, etc. We will not talk about it. Networking, we will discuss it later on. In security, we have security groups and IAM roles. Both will be covered. And then we have images and templates. I'll not talk about templates, but let's talk about image. So when you click on create image, it will create an AMI. Now what is the difference? So let's say I have this EC2 instance wherein MySQL and AWS CLI is installed, right? Now let's say I have to launch 100 instances. All of them should have MySQL installed and AWS CLI installed. So what are the various options you have? The one option is that and if it has some data, you have to put the data also, but that option is not scalable. What if you have 1000 instances? So that is where custom AMIs come into picture. So we have already seen the AMI that we had used, which contains just the operating system. Now if we create AMI out of the EC2 instance, it will create a custom AMI, and the custom AMI would have the operating system. Also, it will have the MySQL program installed and AWS CLI installed. So let us go ahead and create a custom AMI. And to do so, click on Actions, click on Images and Templates, and then click on Create Image. So I'll name it as 3IAM Appendix A1 EC2 AMI. And while creating the AMI, it asks me whether I want to install the root volume and the EBS volume both. So I can keep the EBS volume also, I mean I can add the EBS volume also, and I can remove it as well, but root volume has to be there. Okay, so now if I click on create image, what it is doing, it is creating an AMI. So it is, this AMI would be stored in S3 by default. So I had created an AMI for the other stopped instance also, Redshift client RSQL. Now if you have to check the AMIs, click on AMI and you'll see this is the AMI that is actually getting created. Now I'll put the name here also, 3IAM Appendix 1 EC2 AMI. The status is still pending because it will take some time for the AMI to get created. Now what will I do is that once this AMI is created, I will launch a new EC2 instance with this particular AMI. Then we'll see, and we'll SSH into that EC2 instance. Then we'll see that MySQL software and AWS CLI software are already installed in the EC2 instance, and that is the purpose of AMI. Alright, as you can see, the status is available now. So the AMI has been created. This is a custom AMI. Now let me go ahead and launch a new EC2 instance with this particular AMI. So I'm in the EC2 console, click on launch instance, and I'll name it as 3IAM Appendix A1 EC2 instance number 2, and scroll down, it gives me the same option of application and OS images and Amazon machine images. Now here in the bottom we have three options: recents, my AMIs, and quick start. So in the last one I had used quick start. If I click my AMI, it would show me the AMI that I have, and it has automatically selected the AMI, which is 3IAM Appendix A1 EC2 AMI. And if I click on this, there's no other AMI because we had created only one. Alright, so now the instance type can be t2.micro. I'll select the same key pair, which is 3IAM Appendix A1 EC2 key pair, and keep the network setting as is. And this time I'll edit it and I'll enable auto assign public IB, which was disabled last time. This is the only change that I'm making in the network settings. And I'll select the existing security group that we had created. I think it was launch wizard 2. We'll delete all the security groups in the VPC section anyway. And then it shows me that there are two volumes in the AMI, because while creating the AMI, I had included both the EBS volumes. Root volume is mandatory, but EBS volume was not mandatory. Even then I included it. And now click on launch instance. So this EC2 instance would be launched from the AMI that we had created. So I'm not doing anything right now. So let the instance be up and running. This is the second one. And if you see, the status is initializing. Now if I click on this EC2 instance, I have got this public IP address automatically. I did not have to use an elastic IP address. For the previous one I had to. And now what will I do is that once the status is ready, I will go ahead and SSH into the EC2 instance. Now let me try to SSH into the new instance that we had created from the AMI. And so I am inside of this EC2 instance. Now if I type MySQL -- version, it should show me some output because MySQL is already installed. Now why is it so? Because I had created this EC2 instance from the AMI that we created, and the AMI was created from the previous instance where MySQL and AWS CLI was installed. Because I created the EC2 instance from that particular AMI itself, I can see MySQL and AWS CLI already installed in this EC2 instance also. So that's how AMI works. Now what we can do, I'll show you how do you stop the instance and then terminate a particular instance. So I will go ahead and terminate this first instance. So click on instance state and click on terminate or delete instance. So it will delete or terminate the instance. Now if you click refresh, the status would be shutting down. So if you see, the instance state has been changed from running to shutting down. And the second instance that we have, I will stop this instance. So click on stop instance. Again the status has been changed, and if you remember, I had attached an elastic IP address with this EC2 instance. So what I'll do is that I will actually go ahead and release the elastic IP address. So click on elastic IP address, click on this and then click on actions, release elastic IP address. So it says it cannot be released because the instance is still in running state. That's okay, we can try after some time, and once the instance is stopped, we will release this elastic IP. So the instance has gone into stop state. Now I can go ahead and release this elastic IP address. And the elastic IP address is gone and I'll not be charged anymore. That's all about EC2. Let's go into EBS now.